Hello everyone, Jeff here. In our previous video, Loco and I took a critical look at Antilia in discussing issues and bugs that needed to be fixed before we can resume internal testing again. So this is Antilia version 0.7, and we're going to take a look at some of the new features and improvements I've made in the last couple weeks. So the first thing I changed is this create new game interface. I think that we can probably simplify this down even more. I don't want this to be overwhelming to new players. But there are certain things that just have to be here, like being able to configure mods and different gameplay options, but I think I can probably reduce some of the other clutter on the screen. Otherwise, I've got more of these features working. It'll actually store more of this data on the server when you create a new game, so this is actually working quite a bit better. Now, another feature outside of the game that needed improvement was the load game interface, and you can see I've improved it quite a bit. It isn't quite so bare minimum. Now it actually shows the image. I fixed some graphical user interface bugs as far as clicking on things and it not responding. So this is acting much better, and you can also see I've added this a little preview of what characters are included in a save file. So if you watched the previous video, you'll know that there was a couple issues when you created a new character. One, they started up in the middle of nowhere, so that's been resolved. They now start on the beach here. And also they didn't have any inventory groups. So when you click on things like cactus, you wouldn't receive any fruit. So both of those issues have been addressed. So now it's working much better, where you can create as many characters as you want and they all function properly. Now on to a couple new features that have been added in this version. In addition to the inventory, we now have the select character interface, and we can go ahead and choose another character here and hit the switch button. And just like that, you can switch to another one of your characters in the same save game. And in the future, we'll have things in here that'll show kind of the status of that character, their current health, their current level, and whatever activity they're currently doing. Maybe even have some options to change their behavior as far as what they're doing without having to necessarily switch to that character. But overall, this switch character interface seems to be working really well. I'm really glad to have this in here finally, because it'll help in testing, and it's also a very core feature of the game. So it's important that we have these things working early on so that we can make sure that things like inventory and the hotbar work correctly when you switch between characters. So one of the things that didn't make it into the previous video, although Loco and I had talked about it beforehand, was the fact that there was no audio in the game. There was the music that played on the login screen, and it continued to play even when you went into game mode. So I've disabled that login music when you go into game mode, and I've started building an audio environment. And to start that out, I started with this kind of weather simulation with the wind speed and direction being synchronized, and also added some nice sound effects for the ocean, and also just kind of some sounds that you hear up higher up when you get near these trees up here. So I'll go ahead and throw in a couple samples of the wind in action here, and you can kind of see how the wind effect works. So that's going to do it for this week's update. We have a lot of features still to work on and a lot of things to add, but we'll keep you posted as we continue to make progress. See you next time. A special thanks goes to this month's Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the project, you can do so by visiting www.patreon.com/Antilia.